Have you ever noticed that some women move through life without large social circles, yet somehow carry a presence that's impossible to ignore? While everyone else is frantically collecting friends and maintaining exhausting social calendars, these women exist in a different reality entirely. And here's what most people miss. Their solitude isn't a deficit. It's a sign of something far more powerful. Carl Jung discovered that when a pattern repeats across very different individuals, there's always a deep psychological factor at work beneath the surface. And the pattern he observed in certain women with few or no close friends, revealed 5 rare traits that most people will never develop. These aren't signs of social failure or emotional damage. They're markers of profound psychological evolution. Today we're exploring what Jung understood about women who walk alone, why they carry a presence that doesn't ask permission to exist, and the 5 specific traits that set them apart from the collective. If you've ever been judged for your small social circle, or if you've wondered why you can't force yourself to maintain friendships that feel hollow, this video will validate everything you've experienced. Before we dive in, I need you to do something. If you've ever felt more alive in your own company than in a crowd, if you've been called antisocial when you're actually just selective, or if you recognize that your solitude isn't isolation but alignment, type the word love in the comments right now. Let's show each other we're here and we understand. And if you're a woman who thinks deeply about psychology, relationships, and what it means to live authentically rather than acceptably, subscribe to Inner Wise Woman. We explore the truths that comfort people to avoid. Hit that subscribe button because what we're discussing today will change how you see your own social patterns. Now, most people assume that having few friends means something is wrong. Social anxiety, trauma, inability to connect. But Jung's depth psychology reveals something completely different. Many women who walk alone aren't lost. They're aligned with an inner direction that the modern world struggles to understand. They don't depend on external approval to feel whole, and this creates a fundamental contrast with how most people exist. While the majority of people shape themselves to fit into groups, editing their thoughts and suppressing their authentic reactions to maintain social harmony, these women carry an energy that doesn't require permission. When you don't need to dissolve into the collective to feel complete, your presence gains emotional depth and psychological strength that others can feel but rarely understand. What looks like solitude from the outside is actually coherence on the inside. These women aren't missing something. They've found something that most people spend their entire lives searching for, the ability to be whole within themselves. And this wholeness manifests through 5 specific traits that Jung identified as markers of psychological maturity. The first defining trait is emotional independence. And this is crucial to understand correctly because emotional independence is not coldness or distance. It's not about being unfeeling or disconnected. It's the capacity to sustain your inner experience without constant external validation. Psychologically, this reflects a well-structured ego capable of self-regulation, which Jung considered essential for individuation. In daily life, this shows up as genuine comfort being alone, not tolerance of solitude, not making do with being alone, actual comfort and preference for your own company. These women make independent choices without needing consensus or approval. They can end relationships that drain their energy without agonizing guilt or requiring permission from others. They trust their own emotional responses rather than outsourcing them to friends for validation. While some people fear solitude as if it's a threat to their existence, women with this trait recognize it as a source of clarity and power. They understand that time alone isn't empty. It's where they process experience, integrate learning, and reconnect with their authentic self. This isn't something they had to learn through therapy or self-help books. It's an innate capacity they've honored rather than suppressed. The second trait is deep observation. These women read environments with remarkable accuracy. They notice tone shifts, micro-expressions, emotional inconsistencies, not from suspicion or paranoia, but from psychological sensitivity that operates automatically. Jung described this as awareness of symbolic material beneath behavior, the ability to perceive what's actually happening rather than just what's being presented. This observational capacity means they see through social performances quickly. They recognize when someone is performing friendliness while harboring resentment. They notice when group dynamics are built on unstated hierarchies and unspoken rules. They perceive emotional undercurrents that others either can't see or choose to ignore. And this awareness makes superficial socializing exhausting rather than enjoyable. As a result, they naturally avoid loud groups where depth is impossible, rushed bonds that skip authentic connection, and superficial relationships that require constant performance. They socialize with precision, not frequency. They're selective about who gets access to their time and energy, not because they're snobby or judgmental, but because they can see clearly who's authentic and who's performing. This leads to fewer friendships emerging naturally, but the ones that do form are deeper and more stable. These women aren't collecting acquaintances or maintaining connections out of obligation. They're building relationships based on genuine resonance and mutual authenticity. Quality over quantity isn't just a saying for them, it's how their psychology naturally operates. The third trait is autonomy of thought. These women think for themselves in a way that's increasingly rare. They're not driven by the need to belong or the pressure to follow trends, which can make uniform environments deeply uncomfortable. Jung emphasized that strong minds naturally resist excessive conformity, and these women embody that resistance without even trying. This intellectual independence means they question narratives that everyone else accepts without examination. They form opinions based on their own analysis, rather than downloading whatever their social group believes. They can hold unpopular positions without anxiety, because their sense of self isn't dependent on group approval. And yes, this can intimidate others who are more invested in consensus. But this autonomy of thought protects something essential: authenticity. When you're willing to think differently, you can be yourself rather than performing a version of yourself that fits group expectations. Real connection, these women understand, doesn't require abandoning your inner logic or pretending to believe things you don't actually believe. The fourth trait is self-preservation without emotional closure. These women have developed the capacity to know when to step back before exhaustion sets in. They set boundaries before their peace is disrupted, not after they're already depleted and resentful. This isn't emotional hardness or selfishness. It's emotional maturity and self-respect. They withdraw from drama, competition, and unstable dynamics not out of fear, but out of clarity about what serves their well-being and what doesn't. They can sense when a relationship is becoming extractive rather than reciprocal, and they have the courage to create distance before it damages them. They don't wait for relationships to become toxic before establishing boundaries. They maintain boundaries as ongoing self-care. Jung would say this demonstrates psychological sovereignty, the ability to prioritize your own psychological health without guilt or excessive explanation. These women understand that boundaries don't build walls that keep everyone out. They create doors that only open to those who know how to approach with care, respect, and genuine intention. This self-preservation is often misinterpreted by others as coldness or rejection, but it's actually the opposite. It's such profound self-love and self-knowledge that they refuse to betray themselves for the comfort of others. They've learned that protecting their energy isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining the inner coherence that makes authentic connection possible. The fifth trait is a quiet inner strength that Jung called psychic depth, a rich inner life that creates calm magnetism without performance. It's often misread as distance or shyness, but it's actually emotional density. These women have cultivated such substantial interior worlds that they don't need external stimulation or constant social engagement to feel alive. This inner strength shows up as remaining centered in chaos, listening more than speaking, and responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. In a loud, reactive world where everyone is performing visibility and seeking attention, this quiet presence is rare and powerful. People feel it even if they can't articulate what they're sensing. When these 5 traits come together, a clear pattern emerges. These women don't lack friends due to inability. They have fewer friends because they only connect where there is emotional truth. The unifying factor is an inner compass that consistently points toward what is meaningful, not what is pleasing or socially advantageous. They cannot fake interest in conversations that bore them. They cannot tolerate shallow bonds that require constant performance. They cannot stay in spaces where authenticity is compromised. This isn't stubbornness or antisocial behavior. It's alignment with their own truth that's so strong. Betraying it feels physically impossible. Jung believed that honoring inner truth frees a person from the crushing weight of social expectation. These women live from that freedom. Their circle is smaller, but far more real. They choose depth over appearance, truth over convenience, solitude over soul-draining connection. This selectivity isn't rejection of others, it's protection of self. Personal power, Jung understood, doesn't come from social strategy or manipulation. It comes from emotional coherence, when your outer life aligns with your inner truth. Magnetism isn't created by having hundreds of friends. It's generated by inner stability that others unconsciously recognize and respond to. When a woman knows her value independent of social validation, everything changes. Her relationships transform because she's no longer tolerating what depletes her. Her boundaries clarify because she's no longer afraid of disappointing people. Her presence strengthens because she's no longer performing versions of herself for acceptance. Belonging to herself becomes enough. If you're resonating with these traits and want to explore more about living authentically as a psychologically aware woman, subscribe to Inner Wise Woman. We're building a community of women who choose depth over performance. Join us. Women with few friends aren't isolated, they're discerning. Jung warned that wrong relationships harm more than absence ever could. These women learned that lesson. Their social life reflects courage, the courage to step back, to filter, to remain whole, and to exist without permission. Few connections, deep truth, quiet strength. Now reflect, which of these traits do you already carry, and which one are you ready to strengthen? Many women discover they were never meant for shallow bonds. Perhaps you're one of them.